go. We're live. You able to see the chat there? Fantastic. Have the gentlemen and ladies confirm that the audio is good. Fantastic. Have the gentlemen and ladies confirm that the audio is good. Peace to the saints. Today I have a special presentation for you all, and this is actually part 2. We started part 1 already. You'll be able to see this for the members at patreon.com/thesaintthecenter or marquettism.com. You'll have part 1, which was packed with a lot of information, so much so that we had to break it up into 2 parts. Okay, fantastic. First, let us start with our tradition, which is to show love to those who show love to us. May I acknowledge OH, who came in with tuition via Cash App. Also want to acknowledge Mitchell McCauley, went to sassenbrand.com, got dripped out. I think he got maybe 4 of the hoodies. He got 4?
Every color, I think.
Every
Yeah.
color, that's what's up. I think I'm gonna go back and upgrade as well. I got the sand one with the Sassen S, you dig?
We have Barrett came in via PayPal. He said, peace to the saints. Disrespectfully, F the Matrix, Sasson or nothing.
In a real way. And if you're curious as to, what exactly do we define the matrix as, check out part 1 at marquettism.com or patreon.com/thesaintthecenter.
Carry on.
All right, so I shall. So how the matrix took over, in short, we'll say the matrix is all of the systems of control that are trying to influence you, generally with immorality. This is the government that overreaches. This is the LGBTQ movement. This is the #MeToo. This is the Antifa. These are all of these wicked forces collected together. They constitute the matrix. These are different factions that are essentially in collaboration to radically change the society for the worse. Now, the question is, how do they take over creating the world that you and I live in today? A world which, just 20 years ago didn't exist at all. Just 20 years ago, a lot of the things that they proposed we would consider insane, whether you're talking about gender dysphoria, sexualizing children, abolishing the policing force. All of these things would have been viewed as very alien just 2 decades ago, a short time in human history. Protests, marching, cancel culture. These are just a few of the tools that they utilize. I wanted to specifically review these because the independents, moderates, conservatives, they tend to think that they're above these tactics or methods when really these tactics and methods are highly effective, and it's because we've sat on the sidelines of the game that we've started to lose the game. Now, in my last talk, I already went through the items that are highlighted in white. Today, I'm going through the items that are highlighted in red.
We have Justice came in via Cash App. He said, peace to the saints tuition.
Peace to the saints. Thank you to those men who support the work. You are appreciated.
And Vicente said, will Fatherless Girls video from last night be on Patreon?
Yes, absolutely. It'll be up for the members at all of the member websites. You can count on that. Fantastic. Carrying on. So number 1, we reviewed how public schools are utilized to create new agents. And this is an important piece because the matrix has to have agents, which are to say propagandists, foot soldiers, the people who are real believers, the folks who make this thing called the matrix work. How do you create more of them? Like, for example, where do you get all these LGBTQ persons or these LGBTQ allies? Well, they have to be created. Sane people, for example, heterosexual people, we reproduce naturally. It's called childbirth. We birth children, and then if they're not disturbed, they grow up naturally and they become sane, heterosexual men and women. Conversely, the matrix being against nature, they have to produce agents, so to speak. The public schools is one means. They teach them certain things. Social media, they go on TikTok and they see a lot of transgender individuals being idolized. Traditional media, CNN, even Fox, they promote the broken family.
We have David said on PayPal, tuition for the early Saturday class. It has been crazy to matrix has deteriorated the morality of the populace.
Yes.
Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. Yes, indeed. It's in rapid deterioration, and we're in a revolutionary time, and we must act urgently and focus on that part called action. We can't sit back any longer. So here are the pieces I'm going to focus on. The pedophilia. Yes, pedophilia is utilized to create more agents of the matrix. Public policy, which is to say changes in laws, are used to shape the thinking of the society, the behavior, values, and morals. Voting in elections, that is who gets to run. And we find that the leftists, the radicals, they go out in droves, they vote. In some cases, they may be rigging election results. And this is how they get their people in power. AOC, the likes of those kind of folks. Then literature. They're even writing children's books so that they can influence the thinking of the young at a very early age.
Camden came in on Cash App. He said, got my backpack, pristine quality.
Wow.
Thanks, big bro.
Peace to the saints. That means so much. We love creating product. We love happy customers. And we want to be a good example of good business. So thank you, Camden, for sharing that with us. And I know many of the saints will be receiving their backpack briefcases shortly, probably today, in fact. If you haven't gotten yours, you can get it at mdblabel.com.
And Joseph's in a Cash App says tuition.
Shout out to Joseph. And this is no longer a pre-order. These are actually ready to go.
And I'm going to post it in the chat for those interested.
Indeed. And then the last piece is entertainment. Yes, I'm telling you that the Matrix seeks to brainwash you through every form of human activity: labor, war, sex, politics, economics, entertainment, and much more. Netflix, you think you're watching a TV show, you're actually watching an advertisement for sick thinking and even sicker behavior. Carrying on. There we go. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is voting in elections. This is something that we tend to undervalue. We won't take off work to go vote. We don't get excited about our candidate. We never hate the other candidate because we're not wicked, evil people. You see what the left does? They're able to demonize their opposition and then really crystallize mindset and action so that their people show up and vote. In our cases, we're happy people. We don't hate anyone. We might like a candidate, but we don't take the emotional necessary to go out and actually vote, and we need to. I want you guys to understand that not only voting for the president, but also for Congress and judges and councilmen and school board, this is all important. I'll give you an example. Recently, as you know, there was a local business that destroyed one of my automobiles. It's very gross conduct. They're clearly wrong. Long story short, we've been in a multi-year process of suing them. We had a court date, and when we were there in the courtroom, this individual, mind you, we're all in suits. This individual shows up in a hoodie, some dirty jeans, and then goes up and asks for a continuance, which is to say they want to delay the case. And the judge, a female, very rude, impolite individuals, when she calls up our case, she says that, okay, so-and-so has asked for a continuance. They have a sick child. Now, mind you, we're not suing an individual. We're suing a business. Businesses don't have children. Businesses have employees. They have lawyers. And so she asks us, she says, well, will you guys grant them a continuance? And I say, unfortunately, I had to fly from South Africa, which was very expensive, just for this case. This is the only reason I'm here. I cannot grant a continuance. She says, okay, well, I'll grant the continuance anyways. Now, that was clearly a show of utter disrespect, just for no reason, to the citizens that pay her salary, to the citizens that elect her. And then she also was making a show of power. She asked me as though I had some decision making, but then she just overrode it. So she was playing head games, which let me know that maybe she's friend with this guy. She knows this person. We don't know. We have to figure out. But one thing you'll notice in my book, The Black Box, I write, if you perceive or find that someone looks at you as an enemy, you must expect them to behave as enemies do. And you would be wise to take the first strike. You dig? So now knowing that, this is what I did. Her name is Elena Lee Graham. She just won recently, and she won in 2018, and her term ends in 2025. This is the guy who ran against her to become judge, this guy. So I've already reached out to him. I said, hey, are you running again to become judge? Because I want to know. I want to support you financially. I want to support you organizationally in any other capacity. So whether it's him or someone else, I want to meet him. I want to shake his hand. I want to make sure he knows my face. I want to put some money behind him. I want him to be successful. Then we'll have a friend in power, because we already know that this is our enemy, just by the way she was conducting herself. And truth be told, we came at the time that the court summoned us. They came at the time the court summoned them. Why couldn't they conduct the trial? They were there in the flesh. They had no respect for the court, and she had no respect for me or my time or the citizenry in general. And for that reason, we got to get her out through voting and election. We need to do that not only at the judge level, but at the highest level for the presidency as well. Now, we're talking about how does the matrix reproduce agents. This is critically important. Pay close attention here. Because as I said, heterosexual people, we reproduce ourselves just by having kids. Natural process. The LGBTQ, on the other hand, they're actually less than 2% of the population. Yes, you heard it correctly. Those who actually practice sexual deviance, they're less than 2% of the population. And I don't have a problem with them, except that they keep promoting their way, and what's worse, they promote it to children. So we need to understand this. The way that they reproduce is through a couple strange methods, one of which is pedophilia, yes, grooming the children and taking advantage of the children. And generally speaking, when you have children who grow up in a family and say their parents are alcoholics, well, they're more inclined to engage in alcoholism. Their parents are uneducated or been involved in the penal system, they're more likely to be incarcerated. If the child is victim of sexual abuse in childhood, they're more likely to engage in what is called alternative lifestyles, also known as sexual deviance, and they're also more likely to commit this heinous act on others. So this is how they reproduce. Here's the evidence that the LGBTQ movement, as they call it, this is not really a movement, they are very much so focused on grooming children and taking advantage of children sexually. Here it is. This is from 1995, and I wanted to use an old source to let you know that this has been going on for a long time. Today, we're seeing the fruit of the labor they've been putting in for a long time.
On PayPal, we have Clark Woods said, peace to the saints. I have two questions. I have distanced myself from unfocused and unaware people who indulge in meaningless activities. Am I being too harsh? Also, you say that like attracts like, which I strongly agree with. I tend to attract low-quality women. Could this mean I am a low-quality man?
Number one, when you mention cutting off people who are unworthy, it's not too harsh, it's appropriate. In fact, you're probably not being quick or harsh enough. That's number one. Then number two, if you're high quality on the inside, maybe there might be something on the outside that's not reflecting that. For example, when I go out in the world and I'm dressed like this, people treat me in a particular way. When I go out in the world and I'm wearing a tailored suit, people treat me in a radically different way. And I'm hyper aware of that. And so you have to be mindful of what you're presenting to the world, knowing that it's going to impact what you get back. So that's the first thing I would do is, make an analysis of how you're presenting yourself linguistically, posture-wise, dressing, and also the settings that you find yourself in. If you put yourself in the right settings, there won't even be any low-class women around. Thank you for that question, Saint. Those are really important, and I congratulate you on living in the mind rather than living in the heart. You're making rational decisions that'll make a better future for you. 1995. Homosexual magazine called Guide. It said a whole lot of things, but these are the pieces that are critically important for you to understand this point. Children are naturally sexual. What? Children are naturally sexual. Notice they made this statement, yet they didn't provide any scientific backing. They just threw out the statement, no scientific backing, probably because it's a lie.
On Super Chat, Noor said, peace to the saints, working on some side projects. We'll catch the replay.
Yes, indeed. Appreciate the support. Shout out to the real men who support meaningful topics.
On Cash App, we have Craig said, peace to the saints tuition.
Peace to the saints.
Carry on.
Those are real men. You dig? See, we're talking about the things that actually move society forward, not the jokes and laughs and goofiness and entertainment. You are real men who support this. I appreciate you. Children are naturally sexual. That's strange because I don't remember when I was like eating Lunchables thinking about sex. I just don't recall that. And then the article in the homosexual magazine further states, quote, instead of fearing being labeled pedophiles, oh, they're being bold. Instead of fearing being labeled pedophiles, which they are, we must proudly proclaim that sex is good, including children's sexuality. So how is it they say we are lying when we say they're sexualizing children? When we, the sane people, the adults, the men, the women, the parents, when we point out that they are grooming children, here it is, as plain as day. They said including children's sexuality. Sex is good, including children's sexuality. And not only are they grooming children into sex itself, but they're grooming children into strange, peculiar forms of sex. This is extremely dangerous. And the question is, what have you done about it? Here's what they're doing to make it happen, but what have you done to stop it? Educational policy. There are different kinds of policies that are enacted to shape the society, to recreate, to duplicate agents of the matrix. Educational policy is one such thing. That's why you find so many of these young people are brainwashed into foolish ideas. They can't figure out if they're a male or a female because they've been taught fake biology. Huh? Yes, they've been taught fake biology. And when you hear something enough times, even if it's a lie, you begin to believe it is the truth, even without proof. Huh? Educational policy. In the state that I'm in, the state of Nevada, the Nevada State Legislature has just recently passed Assembly Bill 261. And what it provides for is the education in K to 12. Yes, that is kindergarten all the way through the end of high school. They're going to be teaching the LGBTQ contributions to everything, the LGBTQ history. Wow. Do we really need to know what the LGBTQ did in arts, humanities, and sciences? No, we don't, because truth is this. I don't know if Albert Einstein is homosexual, heterosexual, or transgender. I don't really know, but I really don't care because it has nothing to do with any of his scientific discoveries. So the question to you should be, why are they involving sex in things that don't need to have sex involved?
7G Phil sent a super chat, said hashtag peace to the saints, hashtag tuition. It's been a few weeks since I've got the ism, so you know I had to tune in. Thank you for all that you do. Keep bringing the pain to the matrix.
Yes, sir. And action.
We have two. Bunleen said tuition. Thank you for taking the time to outline the methods to dealing with these sick individuals running our countries.
Yes, indeed.
And we have Tony said they use jokes and humor to mask agendas and to push sickening.
Tony is a wise man. They absolutely do use jokes, humor, entertainment. Very wise.
And we have Jonathan said tuition, much needed topic.
It's critically needed, and what you'll notice is that when I'm joking, everyone wants to watch. If I'm beefing, drama, everyone wants to watch. You are the leadership class, and I appreciate you all for being here. We are the ones together that will create the new world. Any man who doesn't tune into something like this is not a man, for he's not a leader and he has no fighting spirit. It is the cowardice and it is the fear that causes them not to support this kind of work. It is the cowardice and the fear that causes them not even to be able to focus their minds on these kind of ideas. They're secretly scared. And just imagine how low of a state we've come to when you have adult males who are scared of Skittle guzzlers.
On Cash App, we have Nick said tuition. Thank you for this. You are appreciated.
Thank you very much. Peace to the saints.
Carry on.
So they're changing the education policy so that when your kindergartner or your first grade son or daughter goes into his classroom, he's going to learn about Harvey Milk. And who's Harvey Milk? He's the Martin Luther King of the LGBTQ. He's a guy who engaged in what's formerly called pederasty, which is when an adult male grooms and sleeps with a boy, a minor, also known as pedophilia. Public policy. We just talked about educational policy. Here's public policy, the law that's controlling us all. So not only do they create the laws so that they can duplicate their mentality in your children, they also create laws to financially cripple you, to control you. Who are you? You, the heterosexual male. You, the masculine man. Just imagine, child support, does it really make sense? If you decide to have a child out of your own decision, you're going to naturally want to take care of the child. What this kind of a policy does is it empowers harlots to steal your seed and then fleece you for money. Yes, state-sponsored extortion. And consider this also drives further breakdown of morality. For the reality is, if a woman can be promiscuous, make mistake after mistake, and then have no accountability because she can fall back on the government to steal from you so that she can support her bad decisions and not only pay for the child, but also pay for her own lifestyle because they're taking more money than is needed, then they will continue to do such things. This leads to further breaking of families because this government structure replaces the necessity of the man in the home, pulls him out, but takes his dollar and drops his dollar into the situation, such that the role of the male is reduced merely to provider. A sick world and a sick situation.
Okay, we have JBR says peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
Superman in Action sent tuition.
Shout out to MMIA.
Major Minded Soul said tuition. We must stand firm against the program being pushed on us.
Yes.
Men, assassin, we need to make and run our own program. Peace to the saints.
That's right. And we must protect ourselves against these kinds of things. What you need to understand is that the government basically utilizes violence to make you comply with these things. But as we too are men, we also have that capacity. And if we are organized, we can stand against these kinds of things. And it must be done.
Carry on.
Now, we want to talk about grooming. How do they create more LGBTQ? Because it's not natural. No one's born that way. They've searched high and low, and they've still yet to find a gay gene. So how do they create themselves? These agents of the Matrix. Grooming kids with books, literature. Look at this book right here. Yes, you see, it's a children's book, but it's not a children's topic. This one is called The Hips on Drag Queens Go Swish, Swish, Swish. The hips on the drag queen go swish, swish, swish. Vile, disturbing, scary, in fact, showing what would appear to be a woman with a large beard and mustache. A children's book, The Hips on the Drag Queen Go Swish, Swish, Swish. Filth, and it gets filthier. Here is an article. The LGBTQ books that were given to the kids as a result of education policy, They gave these books to the kids, and the parents said, well, the book said, what? We're talking about sodomy in the book? We're talking about oral sex in the children's book? So bad that in a particular school district, the parents had to go and speak to the school board to get these books pulled out of the curriculum. The real question is, how did these books ever end up in the curriculum? When did we think it's okay for the school that's supposed to teach mathematics, science, and literature to start teaching pornography? Huh?
Elite Millennial said, thank you for sharing your ideals. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
And we have Keandre sent Forge Global Stock.
Okay, I see which picks he likes. Shout out to Keandre.
Carry on.
Vile stuff that we all must fight, and here's the most insidious form. And this is why we must continue to create content. This is why you must share the content on all of the platforms from all of your accounts. If you never send in tuition, share these videos. That's tuition enough, if that's all you can do. Because the entertainment is the most powerful thing for the person today. What does the Matrix want? They want you to be strung out on all variety of drugs, from the hard ones like fentanyl to the soft ones like caffeine. They want you to have a bad sleep schedule because you're strung up on alcohol. You go to happy hour every day. They want you weak and distracted on video games, wasting your time binge watching Netflix. And what does Netflix give you other than a diet of propaganda? Constant propaganda, teaching you that the way you are is not good enough. No, you must be an ally. Better yet, you must be LGBTQ maybe. Pick it. You got options. L, B, G, D, Q, and they add in letters every day.
Directed by Tabrizi said, modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, nothing is sacred.
Nothing is sacred. And we are at war right now. It's a war for the mind. It's a war with culture. It's a war for our children. The propaganda is everywhere. It's in those Disney cartoons now. It's in your sitcoms now. It's in your hip hop music now. It's in all forms of entertainment. And the worst thing is that you consume it and reconsume it by the hour in massive doses. It's very dangerous. Now, I remember one of the individuals who follow me, I don't want to say they're one of the saints, for I would hope that if they were one of the saints, they would have more ism. They stated that protests don't work. Boy, oh boy, is that foolish. Protests absolutely work. Here are the suffragettes. Yes, that's right. These are the women who are partly lesbians, partly lonely mothers, unruly women who didn't want to be represented by their husband and their family. They wanted a separate vote. Yes, and they sure did protest for it, and they sure did get it. Not a vote for women in general, but a vote for white women. It's funny how black women kind of go along with the feminist thing, not realizing that feminism was created for white women. They still thought that you guys were low down dirty dogs. And today, some of you are low down dirty dogs. Now, this works. Protesting works. It shows power, shows latent power. You might protest peacefully, but the fact that you can organize 300 people to show up to one place at one time by the command of a man or the command of an organization shows that we can do some things here. What is the military other than organization? The ability to give order and for a large group to follow order. That is power. Protest, even if it's peaceful protest, is the suggestion that we have power. And, importantly, we'll exercise it.
On Cash App, we have Paulo said, tuition, peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
And Miles says, peace to the saints, the most needed stream worldwide.
In a real way. Spread the word.
On Super Chat, we have Stop Playing Trey said, the level of truth I'm hearing is crazy. Church in session, pay your tithes, peace to the saints.
In a real way.
And we have Tommy says, peace to the saints. I was talking to a single mother.
Uh-oh.
She took 3 days to respond to my text.
Wow.
I ignored it. God told I was too mean. Any thoughts?
When you're dealing with a woman and you don't intend to make her your main woman, which is to say to go the long way with her, there's no reason not to be hyper aggressive and try to extract the one or two values that she has. If she's a single mother taking 3 days to respond to a worthy man, that lets you know that she doesn't really want good things for herself. And she might only have one good value, which is in her nether regions. Now, being that she's a mother, she might not even have that value, you dig. But I wouldn't think twice about it. And truth be told, when the single mom throws herself at you, yeah, sure, deal with her. And if she does not throwing herself at you, then you'd probably set your sights on someone more worthy. Thank you. #MeToo. It's a protest movement. I want you guys to understand the many ways that protest is useful and important. For example, through protest, you can put pressure on politicians. You can put pressure on the legislature. That is the people who make the laws. You can put pressure on the judiciary. That is the people who enforce the laws. And what happens is, let's say there's a court case, right? And you are the #MeToo crew and you want a particular outcome. If you're protesting and protesting outside of that courtroom, then that judge knows if I don't give them their outcome, this protest might erupt. If I don't give them their outcome, then I might lose my job. I might not be elected. You're putting extrajudicial pressure on that process. It is wise to do. Or oppositely, if they're outside protesting for their person to go free, you better believe there's a lot more incentive for that person to be let free. You're a fool if you think that protest doesn't do anything.
On Super Chat, we have Rakely Swimming says, Jesus, bring on the meteor. If skill stuff was okay, where the heck does BDSM fit into this? It has an unnecessary strong presence and skittleness. It's obvious it's about sexualization of kids. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
And on Cash App, we have Tia says, thank you for thought-provoking topics. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. And not only must we provoke thought with these discussions or lectures, we must drive action and organization. And shout out to the Lady Saints. They've been meeting recently. I'm very proud of them. And I think we would like to update the name to female empowerment, to the female empowerment group. I think I like the ring of that. I have to maybe call it Marquette's female empowerment group, because surely soon enough they'll try to call me a misogynist. That's one of their chief terms that they like to label people with so that they can make the person disappear. Now, understand, if you are, say you're on trial, say you're top G on trial, there's a whole bunch of people, not in a whole different country of Greece protesting. Wherever you're on trial, there's a whole bunch of people right outside the courthouse, right outside the jailhouse, protesting on a consistent basis, making their voice heard. Do you think that the authorities are not going to take note and that won't have an impact on their decision making? Do you think the jurors will not take note and that will not have an impact on their sentiment? Huh? Because understand, the government is just people, human beings. Though in your mind, you've been conditioned to exalt them to a godly level. Let you not do that, for most of them are wicked, selfish, and power hungry. That's why they sought those low-paying jobs, because they didn't want to be paid in the capital of finances. They wanted to be paid in that old capital of power, yet they don't deserve it. So please know, you must show support for your leaders and for your ideas and for your movement. There is a war going on, and if you are not fighting in it, you're losing in it. And we've been losing in it for decades. Yes, all this stuff has been years in the making. This is in black and white, my boy. And now this is them in color. You see the progression? Or I don't know if progression is the right term, but you see how it grew? Now, here's the funny thing, if you would like to understand how truly clever these movements are. This is supposed to be a Black Lives Matter protest, which was originally about black men, cisgender as they call it, which is to say heterosexual, normal black men who are being gunned down by the police in summary justice, where the police officer was the police officer, the jury, the judge, and the executioner. And Black Lives Matter was supposed to be saving us from the axe hammer. Huh? That's what it was supposed to be about, black men. But somehow it morphed, and the leaders of Black Lives Matter, which is about black men, became black females who weren't even heterosexual, so they don't really want anything to do with black men. They're actually lesbians. So how are they here to protect black men? And then it went from being about black men to all of a sudden, it's a rainbow that has infiltrated the movement. And now it says Black LGBTQ lives matter. And soon it'll just say LGBTQ lives matter. Huh? Yeah, understand how this is happening. This is not a game. This is very serious, and it is very insidious. And evil gathering slowly. It went from Black Lives Matter to LGBTQ lives matter. It went from black letters to now we have the multicolor rainbow. And that is a trick itself, to be able to take a natural symbol, to take something that occurs in nature, something that is natural, and use it as the symbol to represent a movement that is unnatural. These people are good. Oh, they're good.
Tia that sent this cash app wants to join the women's empowerment group, so how does she go?
As you should. There's a young lady I'll connect you with. Deanne is working on this. Mispa is working on this. Selena's working on this. If you DM me, I'll get you connected to them so that they can bring you in. Here's another way that they try to destroy our leaders and our organizations. That's why it's so critically important that you support us, because know this, they will take every dollar that we have and try to push us into poverty so that we give up and we stop and we retreat. You had Kanye West, who was one of the wealthiest men in the world. Billionaire, they called him. Billionaire, they called him. Billionaire no more. Kanye West's anti-Semitism obliterates his net worth. So you telling me you can do good business year upon year, be ultra famous, and because of a tweet, because of mere words, they can reduce you at such a great level? Wow. And while we're talking about the matrix, let us be clear that Zionism is a part of it. Let us be clear. So they basically have taken this man who used to be in the sky, flying high financially, and they've broken him down because he had an opinion, because he had a thought, because he had a mind of his own. And that's what they're trying to do to you and I. That is why when I speak like this, we have insufficient numbers, not only because some people are just flat out scared, but in addition, because we have the Google corporation throttling the speed of my videos so that they come in grainy, or so that when you first click it, it starts loading rather than playing the live stream. And they also only give my notification to about 8% of my follower base, and they never put me on the homepage. It's all on purpose. This stuff came out during the Twitter files. Huh? Yes. And that is why it's so important when I do throw an event that you show up to the event. Because the revolution won't be on the internet. The revolution will have to be analog in nature, which is to say you're going to have to show up. You're going to have to know people. You're going to have to shake a man's hand. You're going to have real trust, because they're trying to destroy us digitally through technology, and most importantly through financial attacks. They take a wealthy man, make him into a pauper. They take an upstanding man, destroy his reputation, try to make him look like he's a dirtbag even when he's not. Huh? Oh, like, for example, they might say that he's guilty of sex trafficking or RAPE, when it doesn't make sense, because last I checked, if you got $1 billion or $1 million, or you got a Bugatti or a couple exotic cars, oh, chicks gonna drop them draws. You ain't got to make them. But they're going to tell lies about you. The chief tool of the wicked person is dishonesty. The lie is their greatest weapon. And that's why you have to be sharp and intelligent to be able to see through the BS. Huh? Here's the most important piece. The world that we live in today is your fault. It's my fault. It's our fault. It's our parents' fault. It's our grandparents' fault. Never do we have the society go into such disrepair all on its own. There will always be the diametrical, or the diametrically opposed sides of good and evil. It will always be the case. We find that today evil is winning because we've been sitting back playing video games. We've been lounging, Netflix and chilling, while the evil side has been marching and protesting and creating educational policy and public policy and winning elections and getting into power and taking control of us and putting us in incarceration and executing us, our leaders, who we fail to adequately support. It is our fault. Huh? So what I challenge you to do, if you haven't become a member at patreon.com/thesaintandthecenter or marquettism.com, which is better, same content, but it's better because marquettism.com we own. And that's why I teach you entrepreneurship, I teach you capitalism, I teach you ownership, because the number one thing they do is kick us off their platform. They deplatform us. They ban us from YouTube, ban us from TikTok, ban us from Patreon. Huh? If you aren't supporting and staying connected, we'll be weak. If you don't have true loyalty, we'll be weak. And we'll continue losing, and it'll be our fault. And the casualty of us losing this war, the children and the future. The children are already at risk. I got videos I could show you of grown dudes wearing G-strings upside down on stripper poles, twerking in front of a room full of children. And their parents are there condoning it. We're losing the battle. Yes, I'm asking you to be more serious. I'm asking you to know that this is your fault and it's your responsibility to get with it and get to work. Sassing or nothing, you dig? If you have some thoughts, questions, comments, I'll give you some time to share. Oh yeah, by the way, we got the waffle beanie, you dig? MDB label waffle beanie. You know, we just keeping it player out here. We got this one listed in the description. The Miss Andrew sweatshirt listed in the description. This is a word more people need to know. They know the word misogyny. They might not know the real definition, but they know the word. But they don't know this necessary word of misandry, which I'm finding is more common and more accepted in the public. Saints, it has been a pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you. Let us end with our tradition.
On PayPal, we have Dominic said, "Peace to the saints. The other day, a friend made a disrespectful remark to me in front of others, maybe at an attempt to embarrass me, but I played it cool. I want to address him about it, but I don't want to bring more attention to the topic at the expense of it potentially coming up again in future social interactions. It's a situation where even showing you were bothered or pissed about it could backfire, but I feel like the disrespect has to be addressed. It seems like a lose-lose. What should I do?"
If it's a friend or if it's someone who's truly family, you should be able to speak together, especially as men. Have this conversation one-on-one. If it's a friend, if it's someone you don't feel like you can actually have a conversation with, that is not a friend. And you should probably begin to distance yourself and put them on limited association, only utilizing them when you can benefit because they're not a good person. Remember that 3-sentence Bible that we live by as saints. Number 1, be yourself. Number 2, be good to yourself. Number 3, be good to good people. This person, if you can't talk to them and address the situation to rectify it, they're not a good person. So if they are a good person, talk to them one-on-one, explain the situation and explain that it's not acceptable moving forward. If they don't agree and they want to further instrumentalize this thing against you, then they are no friend of yours. You should distance yourself and put them on limited association. I'm wishing you much success in that. You seem like a kind-hearted person.
OH came in with more tuition.
Shout out to
We
OH.
have Saint Dean. You know this person. He doesn't have his name, so I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
I've done consultations with him.
All right.
He sent $50.
Baller alert.
It said peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
Rakely Swimming is back again. It
Shout out to
said,
Rakely.
"Skittle irregularity number 2. You can't be masculine and skittle."
Right.
I didn't know that skittle meant adopt female, specifically black female mannerisms. Crazy genetic code. Peace to the saints.
You know, it's so funny because if the homosexual behavior was actually a genetic thing, there's so many questions we'd have to have. If it's a genetic thing that regulates your sexual interest, then we would have to ask ourselves, why do all of the antics come along with you being homosexual? If it's merely just a genetic wiring for you like to put your penis in someone's anus, which is not clean and causes damage to the sphincter, which will eventually cause incontinence in that person. It's very unhealthy for both parties involved and just unpleasant and smelly. But if it was merely a genetic thing that regulated that interaction, why does it have so many implications for this person being loud, this person seeking attention, this person wearing strange clothes, this person being hypersexual? There's just so many things that don't add up that lets us know that this is not a biological thing. This is a psychological infirmity. This is a psychological ailment. And truth be told, I have no hatred for these folks. I really have, sadness that the society and the medical community is placating them instead of helping heal them. That's the sadness.
Director Pajabrisi is back and said, when you read the story of Jezebel, she argued with God until her dying day. Do you think wicked women could ever change?
I don't know, but I often say, am I asking the right question? So you have every advantage to get a very good woman, an exceptional woman. That being the case, we have a short life and we should probably focus on getting the women that we want, not healing broken women, surrounding ourselves with good people rather than trying to support people who are not good people or who are bad off by their own doing.
Okay, also coming back is David. He says, this message is needed. The evil is real. Peace to the saints.
Oh, the evil is so real. Saints, it has been a pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you. Let us end with our tradition, the Creed of the Assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The Creed of the Assassin. I am going to be who I truly am because I am remarkable. And I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, peace to the saints.